Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a really hard look at the numbers behind our financial futures. And honestly, we're going to see why the standard American path kind of leads straight into a massive retirement shortfall. But don't worry, we're also going to look at exactly what you can do right now to avoid it. Whether you're 25 or 55, the math we're about to explore literally dictates what the rest of your life is going to look like. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's decode the brutal math of retirement together.
Picture this: two coworkers. They work at the exact same company, right in the same department. They've had the exact same career trajectory, and they've earned salaries within just a few $1,000s of each other for 22 years. Yet, when they both hit age 67, they end up with completely contrasting financial realities. Coworker A, he's retiring with 1.1 million bucks in his 401k, a totally paid off house, and a pension. He's literally booking a 2-month trip to Portugal. Then you've got coworker B. She has just $94,000 saved, still has 9 years left on her mortgage, and she's dragging along rolling credit card debt. She's sitting there wondering if she can even afford to retire at 72.
So, you really got to ask yourself, with the exact same career and the exact same pay, why on earth is there a literal $1 million gap between these two people? I mean, this massive gap isn't about incredible luck, it's not about complex market timing, and it for sure isn't about inherited wealth. Instead, it comes down to tiny, seemingly invisible decisions made across decades. Decisions that, when they compound over time, dictate your entire financial reality.
Moving into Section 1, the brutal reality of average. Now, the absolute most terrifying part of this whole story is that the struggling coworker isn't some tragic, rare exception. She's actually the American norm. We constantly think of financial struggle in our later years as something that happens when things go terribly, horribly wrong. But the data shows us that this is exactly what happens when things just go average.
$185,000. According to the Federal Reserve's 2025 survey of consumer finances, that is the median retirement savings for Americans between the ages of 55 and 64. That's the absolute middle of the pack for people who are right on the doorstep of retirement. Let that sink in for a second, because we're going to break down exactly what that number actually buys you out in the real world. And these numbers brilliantly illustrate the macro crisis we're facing. If you take that $185,000 and apply the standard 4% drawdown rule, which is what financial planners generally suggest you can safely withdraw without running out of cash, that gets you just $7,400 a year. When you combine that with the average Social Security benefit, the typical retiree is looking at a total expected income of around $31,112 annually. But if you look at the MIT Living Wage Calculator, it shows a single adult needs between $38,000 and $52,000 just for basic, bare minimum expenses. The math literally falls thousands of dollars short of just surviving.
Because of this massive shortfall, a 2025 Transamerica survey showed us something pretty wild. This isn't some distant future projection, it's our current reality. 40% of workers now plan to work past the age of 70. And let's be real, they aren't doing this because they just love the daily grind so much. They're working into their 70s out of pure mathematical necessity. The numbers simply do not work out any other way.
Section 2. The cost of lost time. The absolutely crucial point here is figuring out the precise mechanisms that create this massive deficit in the first place. And well, it starts with a disastrously low national personal savings rate, which sat at just 3.6% in late 2024. Financial planners agree you really need to be saving 15 to 20%. That gap between 3.6% and 15% is literally the difference between our two coworkers. But, it's not just about how much you save. It's about when you start.
Just think about the staggering cost of delay. Let's say a 25-year-old invests just $5,000 a year at an 8% return. They're going to have roughly $1.6 million by age 65. But if you wait until you're 35 to start making that exact same $5,000 annual investment, you end up with just $730,000. I mean, think about that. A 10-year delay costs you nearly $870,000. This absolutely proves that time produces wealth way faster than pure effort. The years between 25 and 40 are the ultimate wealth-building window, and you literally cannot recover them once they're gone. Let's look at Section 3, 4 hidden retirement traps. We're going to dig into how these invisible hurdles are constantly interrupting and honestly destroying compound growth for average Americans.
Instead of treating retirement accounts like untouchable, long-term wealth, people are draining them just to get by. We're seeing 1 in 4 people taking loans or withdrawals from their retirement plans every single year. And as they enter retirement, they run headfirst into these 4 mathematically brutal traps: unplanned healthcare costs, claiming Social Security way too early, dragging mortgage and credit card debt into their golden years. And of course, the silent wealth killer, inflation. Let's break these down. Trap number 1 is healthcare. $330,000. Fidelity estimates a 65-year-old couple needs that massive amount just to cover out-of-pocket healthcare costs throughout retirement. And actually, here's the truly terrifying part. That number doesn't even include long-term care. The median cost for a private nursing home room is over $118,000 a year. Let's be honest, a retirement plan without a massive buffer for healthcare isn't a plan at all. It's a plan with a catastrophic hole right in the middle of it.
Trap number 2, that's how we handle Social Security. And wow, the difference here is immense. Someone eligible for $2,000 at age 67 can claim early at 62, but they drop their benefit to $1,400 a month. But if they wait until 70, it jumps to $2,480. Yet 90% of people claim Social Security before they hit 70. Claiming at 62 instead of 70 can end up costing you between $120,000 and $180,000 in total lifetime benefits. Avoiding this trap requires absolutely zero investment skill. It literally just requires patience.
Most people fall into these traps, plus those debt and inflation traps we just mentioned, simply because they never calculate their target number. The rule of 25 is incredibly simple. You just estimate your annual expenses in retirement and multiply that by 25. So, if you figure you need $70,000 a year, your target is $1.75 million. But less than half of workers ever actually sit down and do this calculation. By not knowing their number, they pretty much ensure their financial gap stays wide open forever.
All right, moving to section 4, beating the brutal math. Let's zoom back in on our first coworker A, to see exactly how he managed to beat this brutal math and retire comfortably with $1 million portfolio, all while sitting in the exact same office.
His success had absolutely nothing to do with a massive income. It was entirely behavioral. He simply executed these 3 totally replicable behaviors over 2 decades. First, he automated his contributions before he even saw his paycheck, so his savings grew automatically with every raise. Second, he calculated his target number at age 38, which gave him a constant feedback loop. Third, he protected his compound growth at all costs. When his roof broke, he didn't drain his 401k, he found another way. He basically engineered his finances so that day-to-day discipline wasn't even required. And I really want to emphasize this point. The retirement crisis is not an income problem. The average household income sits at about $80,600. A perfectly average income like this, paired with a 15% savings rate starting at age 30, is absolutely enough to build meaningful retirement wealth by age 65. Most Americans earn enough to retire comfortably, they just like the systems to make it happen. Which brings us to our final takeaway. You can absolutely still be that successful coworker, but you gotta start automating today. Don't wait for the car to be paid off. Don't wait for your next raise. Start right now. Because the math works perfectly, and it works exactly the same today as it did 30 years ago. The only variable in this whole equation is how much time you choose to give it. Just hoping things work out is not a strategy. So, ask yourself, what is your target number, and what is the very first system you're going to automate today to reach it? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.